Greetings, my name is Odin from the Odin's Musings YouTube channel, and I'm here on behalf of Aura Crystals. Today I will be telling you all about the Russian spiral stitch. This is a very interesting uniform stitch that can be made using a variety of bead shapes and sizes. If you're familiar with other spiral ropes as well as some netting techniques, this one should give you an easy time. This example was created using 3mm beads in size 11 seed beads. Today for this project you will need 3 contrasting colors of size 8 seed beads, as well as 1 color of size 15 seed beads. You will also need a clasp of choice, and in my case I'm using a lobster claw accompanied by a jump ring. You will also need a stop bead or a spring thread stopper, and for this project I'm using a size D white Nymo. Feel free to use anything from a 4 to an 8 pound test Fireline if you're comfortable with that as well. I'm using a size 10 beading needle, but feel free to use a size 12 if you're more comfortable with that. And with that being said, let us get started. I'm going to start off threading on my stop bead and pull that down, leaving about a 6 to 8 inch tail so that I can add a clasp. Then I'm going to pass my needle back through that bead to secure it in place. If I was using a thread stopper, all I would do is open it up and slide in my thread and close it shut. I'm going to start off by creating our base round, and for this I'm going to thread on 1 color A, size 8, 2 size 15s, 1 color B, size 8, 2 size 15s, and 1 color C, size 8, followed by 2 size 15s. I'm going to pull that all the way down, and to form a ring, I'm going to pass through the color A bead and the first size 15. And I'll form this loop here, and this is what we're going to use to anchor our spiral. When we begin our spiral, we're always going to aim for the size 15 C bead. So from here, we're going to jump here, from here, we'll jump here, and finally, we'll jump back here. So I'm going to begin my first stitch. I'm going to add 1 color A and 2 size 15 seed beads. I'm going to jump around and skip until I am at this first size 15 next to my color B, size 8 seed bead. And pull it like that, and everything starts to raise up. Now I'm going to pick up 1 color B and 2 size 15s. I'm going to turn around and skip over, passing through the seed bead that is next to the color C bead. Once I pull that tight, I begin to form the spiral. I'm going to finally finish my row by adding on 1 color C and 2 size 15s. I'm going to move over the first color A that we've started from and pass through the first seed bead that we started from when we created this row. When I pull tight, we kind of start to see the spiral form. Now we need to step up in order to begin our third row. So I'm currently coming out of the seed bead on the first row. I'm going to simply step up by passing up through the second color A bead, the one that we just added on the previous row, and the next size 15 seed bead. I'm going to pull that, and we're ready to begin our next row. So to start off, I'm going to pick up 1 color A and 2 size 15s. I'm going to skip over the second color B, the one that's sticking up the most, and I'm going to pick up the size 15 seed bead that is right next to it. And when we pull that tight, the color A starts to wrap around our piece. Next stitch is 1 color B and 2 size 15s. I'm going to jump over the next color C and pass through the size 15 C bead that is right next to it, so that our color Bs have started to form a spiral. Lastly, add 1 color C and 2 size 15s, and we want to end up from the seed bead that we started from when we began this row. So this will be over the second color A. And with that, we will have finished our third row. Now we're going to need to step up in order to create our fourth row. So coming from the seed bead where I'm at, we're going to jump through the next color A and the next size 15 seed bead. So this will be the third color A. I'm going to begin by adding on 1 color A, 2 size 15s, jump over the color B, and pass through the size 15 that's right next to it. And that'll anchor our next stitch. 1 color B, 2 size 15s, jump over the color C on our round, and pass through the seed bead, size 15, right next to it. Finally, 1 color C, 2 size 15s, jump over the next color A, and pass through the seed bead right next to it. In order to step up for our next row, I'm going to pass through the next color A and the next size 15, and continue and so forth. Once you get a few stitches in, it'll be much easier to pay attention to and to be able to see where you are going. Starting off is always the most complicated, especially when it comes to spiral ropes. So moving on, add 1 color A, 2 size 15s, jump over the color B, and pass through the size 15 that's right next to it. 1 color B, 2 size 15s, jump over the color C, and go through the size 15 right next to it. 1 color C, 2 size 15s, jump over the next color A, and pass through the size 15 bead that we've started from. Then we step up to create our next row by going through the last color A and the next seed bead. You can kind of see our spiral start to form. Continue in this manner for a little while, and then I can show you how to end threads and add new ones. You're always going to add A, B, C, all the way up. So keep that in mind as you're progressing through the stitch. So that is what we're looking at as we progress through our spiral. You can sort of see that as we move clockwise around and up, the pattern goes counterclockwise and spirals around in that direction. So to end threads, what you're going to do is finish off at a complete row, and then you're going to pull your needle off of your working thread and leave it there as a marker for where we should have our new thread. I've got my needle attached to my new thread, and I'm going to go down. I'm going to follow the path around to a few beads until I'm about 4 to 5 beads down. Then I'm going to pass through, in my case it's the color A row, and I'm going to pull, leaving about a 1-inch tail just to have something to hang on to. And I'm going to use half-hitch knots in order to secure my thread in place, which means I'm going to pass my needle underneath the thread bridges between these beads. I'm going to pull my thread through until I form a loop. I'm going to pass my needle through this loop and pull tight to form a knot. Don't pull too tight because the first knot isn't as secure and this tail can slip out. So from there, I'm just going to pass through a couple more beads and do it again. So I'm going to dig underneath the rope until I've caught my thread bridge between the color A and the size 15 there. Pull my thread until I form a loop, pass my needle through the loop, pull tight. Go up a few more beads, and do 1 more knot. I think 3 is plenty secure, so all I'm going to do is travel up through the rest of the beads until I'm up where I need to be, which has met my working thread from the previous row. From here, I'm going to hold my thread down and work a few rows on top of it. So I'm going to start with my color A and 2 size 15s, pass over and jump through the seed bead next to the color B, add on my color B segment, keeping sure the tension on my other thread is tight, add my color C segment, finish off the row, and then step up by passing through the color A and the next size 15. So I'm just going to build off a couple more rows and then I'll deal with the other end. So that is what my work looks like. I've got a couple rows built on top of my old thread. All I'm going to do is add half-hitch knots going upward. So from here, I'm just going to add a half-hitch knot in between the 2 beads that I'm at now. Move up a couple of beads. Add a new knot. From there, I'm going to pass through a couple of more beads. And then I'm going to separate the 2 threads and clip my short thread off. And since both ends are secure, I can go ahead and clip off the tail end from the thread that we've added. So all we've done is taken the old end, created half hitch knots all the way up, and clipped that end short. Be sure you clip the correct end when doing this. And from there, we can continue on our spiral stitch. So when you are attaching your clasp, you want to end up coming out of the size 8 seed beads. So basically, after you have completed a row, to step up, just pass through the size 8 seed bead instead of the next size 15. I'm going to then add 2 color A's in half of my clasp and pass that down. Then I'm going to pass back through the 2 color A's that I've just added. From there, I'm going to pass through the opposite side of the color A bead on the spiral so that the thread wraps around both sides in a circle. Like so. Then I'm going to move and travel through 3 size 15 seed beads and the color B on the spiral. I'm going to add 1 color B. Then I'm going to pass through the second color A that I've added, and then the whole of the clasp. I'm going to then pass down through the first color A again, and down through the color B that I've just added. Then I'm going to pass through the opposite side of the color B that is attached to the spiral to anchor that bead in place. Like so. So we're starting to form a cone around to purse the spiral together. Once more, pass down through the 3 size 15s, and then through the color C seed bead. I'm going to add 1 color C and pass up through the topmost color A, through the clasp, back down that top color A, through the color C, and finally through the opposite side of the top color C that's attached to the spiral. And that is how we attach the clasp. Now all we want to do is reinforce it so that these threads are nice and secure. So all I'm going to do is pass through the next 3 size 15 seed beads, through the color A, go up through the 2 color A's at the top and through the clasp as well. Go back down through the 2 color A's and secure it by going through the opposite side of the color A's that's attached to the spiral. Repeat by going down the size 15s, through the color B, go up through the color B and the color A, pick up the clasp, go back down the color A and the color B, then anchor it by passing through the opposite side of the color B. Travel down the next seed beads, travel through the color C, and repeat to secure that side. Then once you're done, you can go ahead and end your thread by making half hitch knots all the way down the spiral until you think it's secure, and clip your thread short. Then don't forget to pull off your stop bead and repeat with the opposite end. So that is it for the Russian spiral stitch. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for joining me on this lesson. As you can see on these 2 examples, you can do a lot of different ways and different color combinations with this technique, just by changing the shape of the beads. Generally, you want to keep the same size of the bead while you're going through this, instead of having to change up different sizes. For example, I used all 3mm beads in this set, but I've used pearls and bicones to make it a little bit more dynamic. This is a lot of fun too because it is a little bit of a stretchy stitch as well, so it kind of elongates as the weight of the stitch drops down. And that is it for this video. Be sure to check down the description box for full details on materials lists, as well as links as where you can purchase. If you would like to see more of my work, feel free to check me out at Odin's Musings right here on YouTube or at odinsbeadhall.com.